So I've been coming for years and always been trying to get cannabis legalised since they criminalised me when I was 18. Turned me into a criminal for a plant, which I didn't like, obviously. I don't think anyone likes that, so we're all still fighting it 40 years later. I've known Michael now for 20 years. He's obviously will fight the fight till the day he dies, so any support we can give him is great. So we sponsored the event this year. Just chucked in a couple of bucks just to get cannabis legalised. So that's our aim, that's our ultimate goal. We obviously enjoy growing cannabis and we enjoy helping people to grow cannabis, but the ultimate goal is to stop this madness of criminalising so many people. So what I do is I grow weed, basically. I've been growing weed for 40 years, and over that time I've learned to grow fairly good weed, and I've learned the processes to grow weed. And now, for the past 10 years or so, I've supplied equipment to the industry. So people come to me for consultancy work to build grow rooms. They come to me to buy equipment, and then obviously for the life of their equipment they get aftercare service to look after their grow rooms. It's a very important project. Lots of people invest a lot of money. We've got one of those interested parties here today. They're a local group who are starting a medical cannabis facility. They're called Budsy, which is a great name, I think, really nice name. They're looking to grow in soil, but using advanced technology, so they're trying to produce a sun-grown organic product, which we still believe in. You know, although we do indoor growing, obviously we have to do indoor growing. Very, very difficult to supply the world cannabis market with sun-grown cannabis, unfortunately. We wish we could, but the laws prevent it. It's just not possible. So the industry obviously moved indoors many, many years ago. In fact, it was about 85 or 86. People in Amsterdam started to use high-pressure sodium lighting to produce flowers. So it's been around for quite a long time now, but it's an industry that's growing rapidly with legalisation throughout the world. Obviously everyone wants cannabis now, so we're trying to come up with methodology that is organic in its final product, something that meets all of the standards that the government set for us. They have lots of different terminologies within the industry. I'm not going to use any of them. It's just about whether they consider the cannabis to be safe for the public or not. So companies like Budsy have to stick to very strict guidelines when they start their operations. They have to have security programs in place before they obtain licensing. They basically have to jump through hoops for many, many years before they're able to grow cannabis legally. So in places like California, where they're very advanced, they've been growing cannabis for a long time, right back to the early 80s, in line with Amsterdam. In fact, the first genetics was shared directly between California and a couple of people in Amsterdam, people like Neville, of Neville's Haze. You may have heard of the early sativa strains, the Haze strains. So these people were very influential in the indoor cannabis industry. They had the first grow rooms in the world, and that's when they started to tailor genetics to taste, basically, to take wild strains and change them and deliver them how people want them. I remember the first strains, Northern Lights. Northern Lights is the one that I remember as the beautiful strain, very early strain. So what medical companies and grey growers, I'm going to say that now, I build grow rooms for everyone. I don't just build grow rooms for legal companies. I basically don't care what you grow. If you grow tomatoes, if you grow cabbages, whatever. That's sort of how I look at it, alright? There's legal growers in the room and there's illegal growers in the room, so I'm from both worlds, okay? So if you have any questions that are great, don't worry. Everyone in here is cool, yeah? Most people in Nimbin are pretty cool. So what I want to do basically is put the questions to you, like, has anyone got any questions? There's not a massive amount of people here, so I don't know, does anyone grow in the room? Do you girls grow? You grow? So you're learning to grow? Yeah.
I've done it once.
You've done
one summer in the Netherlands.
Yeah, okay. In the Netherlands?
Yeah.
Inside or outside?
Outside.
Outside. Okay. Well, you can grow good in the Netherlands. A lot of rooftops in Amsterdam have grows. Yeah, good place to grow. Are you interested in vertical farming? Like,
Maybe. I don't know anything about it.
well, if anyone has any questions, stop me from rambling on and ask a question. All right, if you have any questions. Mitch over here. I'm not going to say his surname just for own personal privacy, but Mitch is from Budsy. He's the head cultivator for Budsy. They're building a facility at the moment, which is a beautiful facility, a state-of-the-art facility. It's using the sun and vertical farming technology and LED lighting as well for supplemental lighting and possibly for direct canopy growth as well. So these are a crew that have come from, in the industry they call it the legacy industry. We often refer to it here as the grey industry, but I think we all came from the history of cannabis. That's why we're all here in Linden. That's why we all support this plant from its beginning. It's not just getting into it for money, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people who really believe in the plant. So these guys are trying to deliver an organic product that is good for your health, that has no nasty products put into the growth at any stage of its growth, that is delivered to the public at a reasonable price from the sustainable direction a plant that's grown in their area. You know, they intend to supply and do supply people at the moment legally through a prescriber that are in the local area. So that's also very important, that food and medicine is brought back to the people and it's brought close to home. So if you have any questions for Mitch about the process of getting a license, there was going to be a couple of people who were applying for licenses and grows who were going to come, but they're not here as yet, so we'll just move on. So vertical farming. Why don't we talk about the advantages of vertical farming? Obviously when you grow on one level, you just got a single footprint. When you go outside in the sun, generally, you just have one season. You have one opportunity to flower. So by coming into an indoor environment, it lets us control the environment. We can control all of the environment, every bit of it, whether we want sunlight as part of our contribution to our flowers, or whether we just want to run them in a totally artificial environment for stability. There's ways of blending these techniques. There's ways of blending them to whatever percentage you want. You know, you can grow a totally full sun-grown product, but using full hydroponic methods, for instance, something like rockwood or aeroponics, or ebb and flow, or an indoor cultivation method using the sun. So living in Australia, we've got a really good source of sun. We've got a really good opportunity to use the sun to produce medicine. So companies like Budsy are doing this. They're building a hoop house system. So their indoor facility is to produce the veg plants and the clone plants, which are nice and stable and disease-free and beautifully cared for by hand, and then put into a larger situation, into effectively a sun-grown environment, but an environment that is cared for by someone who looks after it very closely.
So can you describe the setup of the facility a little bit more? Because I'm trying to envision
what a facility might look
how
like.
does it work? Yeah.
So the polytunnel facility often has it has a building that's an indoor building. Okay, and it'll house the offices, and it'll house the drying and the curing facilities. It'll house maybe the trimming facilities as well. Often they might have an extraction lab, so whether they use solventless extraction or gas extraction, depending on the licensing that they have. There's many options these days. A few years ago, everyone was sort of very, very focused on isolating terpenes away from cannabinoids and producing very, very isolated cannabinoids. It was a theory that was had good grounding, it had good science behind it, to try and break down the medicine and then work out which bits of it were actually helping people and then bringing them back together for specific medications. has merit, but it's not how cannabis works. So it's been a first wave. Okay, it's been the first wave of extraction. I've been lucky enough to be right there, right from the very beginning, with both gas extraction and solventless extraction. But the whole market now is turned right back around to solventless extraction and much more organic methodology within growing and within processing flowers as well. So I think everyone sort of has discovered that the plant is here as part of nature, and that's how it's to be used. It's not really to be fucked around with too much. But because it needs to be licensed and because it needs to be put to a commercial market, it needs to be stable, it needs to be mold-free, it needs to be what it says it is, what the grower says it is and what it actually is. So there are a lot of restrictions within the medical market. But being able to use the sun in Australia is a fantastic advantage. So where does that fit in with vertical farming, you might ask? And this is something that I've been thinking about for about 5 or 6 years now, because it makes perfect sense. We have these facilities that are really large with really high roof heights, often greenhouses or polytunnels, and they have very large spaces that are unused. And they have temperature zones that can still be controlled within the grow space, so they can still maintain head height, for instance, in a polytunnel or in a greenhouse, but they can have a certain zone that they can use multi-level farming. Okay, so the way we do that is we need to rack the plants. Basically, we need to put them onto a system where we can access multi-level plants. When you have lots of layers, things become more technical. The zone that you're trying to control is smaller, it's more intense. All of your inputs are direct and not blended inputs. So what I mean by that is in a big room, when you've got a big room like this and you've got one layer of plants growing and you've got 20 lights in this room and you've got an HVAC, you've got a lot of space, there's a lot of blending. Okay, the environment blends, you have fans mixing the environment and everything is mixed. But when it's very close, the lights are very close to the plants and the roots are very close to the lights and the roots are very close to the lights that are underneath it, there's a lot more consideration to be paid to the canopy to be able to get it to perform. So when you grow vertically, it can be a challenge, but it has the same principles as growing anywhere. The plant grows the same way. It just wants what it wants. It's the same as all of us. The plant wants what it wants, so we just have to give it that. Okay, so when we're vertically farming and our space is used to the maximum, the highest potential it can be used to. Sorry, cotton mouth. Nice Girl Scout cookies this morning. When the canopy is really close, you need to pay it a lot of attention and give it a lot of work. Okay, so what we use is we use racking systems. Now, I don't have any photographs of it here, but if anyone's interested, there's only a couple of you here that haven't seen it. We've got some photographs over at my store just over here where you can see what a vertical racking system looks like. But basically, it's a version of a greenhouse rolling bench. Has everyone seen a rolling bench in a greenhouse? It's a long bench that they grow on. And it's just got a handle and it rolls aside so you can walk down in between the aisles. But it's fixed in place. It can't be moved. Just the top bit can be moved. So it's quite restrictive. It's good methodology, but it's old methodology. So the new way is to just use rolling racking that's been used in the banking industry, it's been used in the library industry. In fact, the world's leading company that I work with, Pit Horticulture, they started out as just a retail supplier of racking and then they moved into the cannabis industry. And now they produce the best quality vertical racking systems. So basically they're just a powder-coated metal racking system like you would find in a shop. Maybe a bit better construction, and they just have a rolling system that's basically a handle that you turn and it rolls the whole rack. And these racks can consist of maybe 3 heights. So if you're doing clones or veg, it can be 5 or 6 heights. Tiers, sorry. And then they have a bay. The bay is roughly the size of the table. It's 4 by 8 feet in America, so 1.2 by 2.4 meters. And those bays can be, 15 bays long and 3 levels high, and you can still just roll it with basically with 1 finger. The systems are very easy to operate. You can have a very large space filled with racking that just butts up all the way next to each other. And when you need to work on these systems, you just roll them apart, access the aisles in between, do your work. If you're working on upper levels, it's just a gangplank system basically, just like a scaffolding system, made from metal that clips onto the side of the rack, is often accessed just by a ladder. And the workers will walk up the ladder to the next level and walk along the gangplank and service the plants. And then when they finish that row, they just unclip the gangplank, take it down, roll the rack over and go again. When the racks rest, they rest with a small gap between them, or it is advised for a small gap between them, depending on your HVAC and your environmental conditions outside of your grow space, because they still influence even a sealed room. You can make a 100% sealed room with the best insulation in the world, and it will still be affected by outside influence, even down to moon cycles. And a lot of people in Nimbin follow organic methodology, and the moon cycles is one of them, and that still affects indoor growing. So you have to consider that as well. So these racks are built to last. They're built to obviously improve your canopy space. Often it can be well over 100% improvement. Sometimes if you can push a 3rd level, you can push to 200% improvement on a single level. So in a tent like this, we were talking before, if it was a country shed and it's just down there, and it's a square shed like we have in Australia, you have the perfect opportunity to do a double level grow. And with these racking systems, you can put your 1st level in and do a run, and then you put your 2nd level in and do your next run. You can do 1 rack at a time. Build another rack, build another rack, and before you know it, you're in a space this size, and you're feeding your family, and you're curing your neighbourhood, and keeping everyone happy and working for the system. So there's so many advantages to it. I could sit here forever to talk to you about it. We learn new advantages every single day. One of them is because it's pushed, and you guys will be interested in this, it's just a point of view of mine, but because the technology has been pushed so far, you can now dial your crops in so precisely with sensors and equipment and lighting and the sun, and everything works together, that you can produce these rooms that are just hyper efficient, and you can run them. I have a scale. When I grow weed, I have a scale, okay? And it starts from day 1 on the moon. It's usually on the start of the waxing moon cycle, when the moon has come out of new moon and it's just starting the 1st crescent moon. So that's when the waxing phase of all plants on Earth start to move again, okay? And that's why it's called waxing and waning period of the moon. So we plant then, and we can control the environment down to the nth degree. So when I talk about 100%, every time your lights have to turn off or dim because of something in a normal situation, you're losing percentage on your grow. Your pump's not working, your VPD's not right for the day, your nutrient you put in was a bit stronger than yesterday, so the cells in the plant are going, hang on a minute, why is the EC changed? So all of these add up to 100%, and every time you fuck up, you lose 1%, okay? So what we're trying to do when we work in an inside environment, when we built everything, we've made every machine that we can make, we've come up with every parameter that we can come up with through legacy growing, understanding how it really works in a good summer, for instance, when it doesn't bloody rain every day. When you get a good year, like once every 10 years, you get a good year, and the flowers are good, like last year apparently. in Nimbin was a very good season. Same with wine, same with anything that's grown outside. So we can just remove all of that. We just take all that away. So anyone who's trying to run a business, you know, they've got to run a business. Yeah, we all know about running businesses. So they've got to produce as much as they can, and it's got to be the best quality, and it's got to pass GMP, so they're not throwing it in the bin. You know, like often an indoor cultivator, a commercial cultivator, will have to drop 25% of his crop into the bin because it doesn't pass the government standards, or some of it had a little bit of mould in. They sent a test, and that little test had a little bit of mould, and that's it. They lose that row, or they lose that room, or they lose that whole run. So in controlling an environment when it's that tight is very specific. So the equipment that you use needs to be very specific. So with vertical farming, it does use general agricultural equipment. It does use other equipment that is used in other areas of cultivation. But it's more and more becoming specific to vertical applications. And a classic example for every grower in the room is the conversion from old lights to the LED lights. The loss of heat from old school lighting to the new LED lighting systems that are much, much cooler. This allows us to grow much closer proximity. We get better penetration and DLI, it's known as, which is basically the amount of light that the plant receives in its day. So, which is really important. It's something that people overlook a lot when they grow. They give their plants too much light and they spend too much money on input. And in a commercial situation, they can save a lot of money. So when we do vertical farming, we can dial all of these in using equipment. We can use sensors. We use knowledge from our past and from our peers, and we can grow extremely high quality cannabis organically, and grow a lot more fit. Like, so much more. So, but vertical farming is definitely the answer. It's the answer for food production as well. I mean, you know, we're producing cannabis in this town. It's known for cannabis and medicine, but food is going to become a real issue in the next few years for many countries. Vertical farming is definitely the answer, and growing, producing food to order, so that you're not wasting food. You're not doing the Woolworths thing where you throw 5 bananas away and sell one because it's the right shape. So by having perfect environments all the time, our bananas are always the right shape. You know what I mean? They always taste good because they've always been grown under the same conditions. So it's moving that way for agriculture across the board. Land has been trashed by agriculture. The environment, the gas, everything, everywhere we turn, all of our principles and everything we do to feed ourselves is trashing the earth. So we need to come up with better ways, to be quite honest. Vertical farming and indoor farming seems to be the way forward. Certainly until maybe we can fix some of the other problems, you know what I mean? So there's a classic example of this. I'm just going to throw this out there, but the line that has been built in the Middle East is a city that's going to house millions and millions of people. And it's an amazing concept, very strange concept, something that, you know, I wouldn't want to live in, but a lot of people are going to be forced into living in places like this, okay? And they live in very inhospitable environments, and there's no choice for them. They've got no money. The people with the money control how they live, and they give them what they want to give them. This is what they're giving them. Okay? This is their solution. So farming for a situation like that, whether it be cannabis or whether it be food, needs to be intensive, it needs to be organic, and it needs to produce as much as it can produce for no footprint, no water use, no electricity use, just produce food. And you know, farmers can do that. When you're a craft farmer and you've got a block of land in Nimbin, you can grow the best weed and the best food, and you just use the sun, and it's fantastic. But when you're 8 million people and you live in the desert and you've got a teacup of water to live on, it's not like that. So all of these methodologies that we're building, we're not just thinking for cannabis. Everyone is just thinking for the world. We're trying to, you know, we're trying to solve all these fucking problems. mushrooms that we've created for ourselves. Yeah. This medicine one is saying that we're nearly there. Well, we are there. I can sit in the street now and smoke cannabis legally if I have a prescription. I can smoke cannabis anywhere you can smoke a cigarette now. That's been a recent change only in the past couple of months. You don't have to decant your you can decant your cannabis now. So if you get it in a 10-gram packet from a medical company, you can now break it into daily pieces, like 1 gram per day. And you can smoke it in any device you want. This is in New South Wales. And you can smoke it anywhere you can smoke a cigarette. And this is a recent police command, only about a month or two old. So, yeah, very interesting for Nimbin. It's going to be tested today. Alright, we're going to find the police and we're going to test it. No one's really doing it yet. Alright, so we've got the command, we're putting the command out, we've got printed versions, we're putting it out. We're telling everyone to do it, but no one's really doing it yet.
You'd have to have your medical cannabis.
Yeah, you've got to have it there and ready to go. So out the front of my stand, I've got a doser, a designated outside smoking area, where it's legal to smoke cannabis. I've been smoking now, openly with my bowl, and the cops just haven't come yet. You know? Where are you guys? Anyway, yeah, I don't want them to come. I don't want them to come. Really don't. What I'm saying is the laws are changing. This plant's going to be legalised 100% within probably the next 2 to 3 years, maybe 5, but other people reckon 1 or 2. So this is going to happen. So for you guys, it's time to think about the future. You know, we've been fighting this war, all of us, for 40 years. This market's about to change, and we all need to jump on board and grow really good cannabis for the world, and not just be the biggest supplier of opium, which we are at the moment, but replace that opium supply with cannabis. That would be a great thing. Yeah, that would be a great thing. So look, we've got a couple of new people just coming into the room. We're just doing a vertical farming chat. If anyone's got any questions about cultivation or vertical farming or any systems or anything, Mitch is here, he's a head cultivator for a legal cannabis company called Budsy, or a local company. And I run a company that builds grow rooms, and we're sponsoring the event this year. So if you have any questions, please just ask us. Alright? I'm just rambling on. Okay?
No, it's not rambling. It's useful information.
Yeah, good, alright. Well, that's good. Alright, so, yes.
I had a friend who got in a local legal cannabis farm, and he had to wear a hazmat suit with all the pesticides spraying on a daily level. Is that common?
Yeah, look, fantastic question. Alright, that's probably the question I was hoping someone would ask, but I'm a bit too stoned to remember. But it's a brilliant question. So let me answer it. So Thailand has just moved into the cannabis industry in a really big way, okay? And one of the problems that all cannabis producers have is moles and pests. They're prevalent, particularly in a place like Nimbin, okay? So the old strategy is to use chemicals. Okay, it was the old strategy for everything. When we want to treat food, we irradiate it. When we want to treat meat, we make sausages and we add shit to it. Yeah. So the new way is to use organic methodology. Now, there's a company, a local company. It's a Nimbin company. But I know, absolutely so cool that this company is doing well. They're called Bio10. They were recently on Landline, and what they produced is they fermented alfalfa. And what a couple of companies in the world have discovered is when you ferment organic sprouts, fast-growing sprouts, they have an amazing ability to produce 3 things. Okay? One of them is nutrients, very, very high organic input nutrients, which are vital to plant growth. The second thing that they produce is the ability to kill all moles. Okay, now this is an amazing concept. I agree. Okay, I've been looking for this product for 40 years. Okay, and Nimbin guys found it. Okay, I know, so good. So what he's done, they ferment the alfalfa. They have this product that's like a sludge, right? But basically a nutrient. You can feed that direct to fields or plants, and it's a very high quality organic input nutrient full of all of the bacteria that you're looking for. Then what they can do is they can just process that one more time. The okay, in another organic process. I'm not going to talk about it. But what happens is then they can add it to an organic polymer. Okay, so basically what it does is it wraps up this beautiful little organic package into a little ball, like a little polymer ball, and it's then sprayed onto the plants. Any mold that's on the plants at the time will be killed by this organic product within the polymer. Okay? But because it stays in the polymer, it's in imagine it as a little raindrop sitting on a leaf, yeah, for thousands of them. Then after a small amount of time, this is washed off, and the whole product is just goes back into the organic biosphere. Oh, everything. They were featured on Landline almost straight away. They've had full backing from Saudi Arabia, and they have two revolutionary products, which are truly revolutionary products. Have I got them on my banner? No. So Bio 10. Just remember, just bio, as in bioorganic, 10. No, the number.
So not that there, not what it says.
No, that's Biotherm. That's another company I can talk about. But Bio 10, all right, just the number 10, the word bio. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I know. Sorry. Anyway, if you come over to my store afterwards, I can write this down, and I've got it on the other banner. But anyway, so with this one product. With a slight change in processing, it can also kill bugs. So as soon as bugs get a bit of this polymer on them, the nutrient inside the polymer poisons the bug, and the bug dies. You can watch it. As soon as you can watch it on a microscope, the bug crawls into the polymer, and it causes a bubble around its leg, and this nutrient kills the bug. Just like in seconds, the bug just goes and it's dead. So a whole infestation of aphids, let's say, you do one application, they all die instantly, and then the next wind or rain event, all gone. A beautiful product. So Bio 10. So that's one way to deal with bugs and molds. Okay, you asked me how do we deal with bugs and molds in the vertical farming environment when we're dealing with tens of thousands of cannabis plants. So what we need to do is we need to look at the plants every day. We look at the plants every day. So there's a new device, another new device that's just come out. It's basically an in-house testing device for growers. Okay. So that you can take a sample direct from your plant, it can be any plant, and you put it in a little test tube with some juice, you give it a little shake, and then you put it into a machine. And it gives you a spectral analysis of any fungus or anything, any pathogens, anything that's in the plant. And it gives you daily advice. So normally what someone would have to do is take a sample and send it to a lab and wait till it comes back when their crop's all dead. Okay, so now you can do an on-the-spot test, which will give you a 90% result. If that's in the negative, then you can send it to a lab for confirmation. But you can act on it straight away. If it's in the 90s, not above 90, get rid of the plants. Shut the room down. Turn off the HVAC. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so basically what it's about is it's about being reactive. But now I'm going to tell you what it's really about. It's really about organic maintenance of the plant, okay? When we get back to the 100% I was talking about before, when we grow a plant and we get everything right with the plant finds it very, very difficult to get a disease, to be attacked, for a bug to live on it, okay? They have their own defenses. Cannabis, that beautiful product that we all smoke, is a defense for the...
In about the 1980s, in the New South Wales area, there was a guy experimenting with planting marijuana in crops as a
deterrent, like a dandelion. Yeah.
Oh, as a insecticide, everything, and that's because that shut down the police state concentration backed up. But yeah, he was having great success with it. Reinvigorating soil and keeping normal crops free of insects and stuff.
Yeah, so basically it's about a healthy plant. If you've got a really super hyper healthy plant, that all of its cellular reproduction has been going really well, You haven't been breaking any cells when you've been like through bad EC. You haven't been dropping its respiration through VBD, and everything's been good. It's really hard for that plant to get sick. Okay, now this is a thing that a lot of growers don't understand. So IPM starts from day one. When that seed goes in, another reason to plant it on the moon is because that's when nature says to plant it. Okay, the plant will react strongest at that time, and it will have a better start, and all of its processes from that day on will be stronger. Okay, so when we're working with a vertical farming setup and everything's artificial, the whole environment's artificial, all we're trying to do is replicate a perfect environment. We're not trying to change anything. We're not trying to give it anything that you know is on top of nature. All we're really trying to do is replicate a perfect summer. You know what I'm saying? So when a plant's grown perfectly and it's looked at every single day by hand or by machine, that's your best IPM. That's your best strategy to stop bugs, to stop molds. Now your original question was, is they use sprays. Okay, now these sprays, remember Thai sticks, Thai Buddha sticks we used to call them, how strong they were? It was fungicide. So I knew growers at the time in Thailand and Cambodia that grew, and the way that they get their crops through the heavy monsoon period, which and they spray it with these fungicides, and then they transfer through to, they have to spray them right up to harvest. So the reason you got so smashed on Thai Buddha sticks was the same way the kids today take GBH, you know that chemical GBH? That's what you were taking, basically. So anyway, not good to smoke, really bad for you, and if you test it in medical cannabis, they make you throw your whole crop in the bin. So they recently had a whole bunch of oil in California that failed a chemical test, and the whole lot had to be recalled. Millions and millions of dollars worth of oil.
Okay, so medical cannabis is tested before it's distributed.
Well, yeah, it absolutely is, yeah. When you buy medical cannabis, and I know about this, when you buy medical cannabis, it comes with an analysis certificate. It comes with a certificate that says it's been grown properly, it's been grown by a licensed grower, and it contains this. So, yeah, whenever I send 250 kilos to Germany, it goes with the certificate. So, there's a lot of myths in this world, yeah? A lot of people talk, you know, Chinese whispers, you know how it is. Medical cannabis is very clean cannabis. The only time the rules are broken is when it's an unscrupulous operator. So for instance, in Thailand, they'll still use PGRs, okay? Now PGRs are illegal. Everyone know what a PGR is in this room? You should know. No, you don't know. So it's a plant growth regulator. It's used in the ornamental flower industry. It's used to extend the stems. So we use artificial lighting and plant growth regulators. They are chemicals. They are class 1 carcinogenic. They shouldn't even be touched, let alone inhaled. Cannabis growers, unscrupulous cannabis growers, use it to get shorter, denser, fatter flowers. When you're an expert, you can spot it. But a lot of people will look at a good flower and think it's a PGR flower when it's not. So it's not easy to spot, but it's a killer. Pesticides, fungicides, all sorts of shit that people do to weed. Now they do it in the medical industry, but way less than they do it in the illegal industry. I'll tell you now, and you know, I'm a legacy grower. I've been growing a long time, and I can assure you that even the dude in Nimbin, when he's got $500,000 in the field and it's going to rain, what do you think he's going to do? Like, I'm serious, he's got to feed his family for the year, he's got to look after his community. Often he'll spray that farm. He just will. He won't tell anyone he's done it, but he'll do it. You know, so, and this is the problem, my friend, with illegality. This is the problem with the law. You know what I mean? When drugs are legal and they're all tested, we know what's in them. We know where they were made. You know, I've been a legacy grower for 40 years, but I'm wholeheartedly behind the legal business because it's a way to make it right. Across the board, you know, the plant shouldn't be illegal anyway, but it is often grown badly. And a lot of the kids who smoke, you know, a quarter of an ounce of weed, they're smoking you know, 0.4 of a gram of PGR every week as well. What's that going to do to them in 20 years' time? You know what I mean? Like, horrible. I want to know what's in my weed. So that's an argument for legal weed. I don't know. Alright, so we've got some new people in the room. I don't know how much time I've got. Probably going to get kicked out soon. 15 minutes left. So look, we're here just talking about vertical farming, indoor cultivation methodology. We have a local head cultivator from a legal farm over here. If anyone has any questions about anything to do with cultivation, now's your chance. If anyone wants to learn anything about any equipment for grow rooms that you're building or anything, you just ask me. Not many growers. It's alright. If anyone's got any questions about cannabis in general, maybe I can answer that for you. I used to make a lot of medicine for this town, an awful lot of medicine for this town. So, you know, maybe some people are sick, maybe people want to make medicine. Anyone? No? You're all good? Everyone good? You need to know?
Making of creams.
Yeah, making creams with beeswax and canola oil, seed oil, and the oil.
Alright, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Alright. So the best way to learn to do that is through a standard herbal oil extractor. Okay, so anyone who makes lavender oil or any of those oils, if you want to learn those principles, they're the easiest principles to learn. They're basically just a distillation process. So you're removing the oil from the plant with a solvent like alcohol.
I mean the bit where you actually make the oil.
Yeah, okay, the bit where you actually make the cream. Yeah, okay. So, well, I can sort of tell you how it works, okay? But the best thing to do, really, is to find someone in the community who makes these beautiful creams. I was looking through, there's a girl who's got a store just down here, okay? They make beautiful creams and oils. People like that are well worth meeting because they know the organic technology. Now, the way to do it, okay, cannabis is an oil, okay? Cannabis will dissolve, cannabis oil, once you've made the oil, will dissolve into any other oil, okay? So when we make cannabis pet food, for instance, when we make cannabis for dogs, we put it into linseed oil, okay? And the linseed oil makes the dog food slightly chewy and slightly damp, and the dogs like it, and it contains the medicine. Now, for a cream, you need to get it into something that you like on your skin. So maybe coconut oil. So coconut oil and cannabis, they'll melt together very, very simply. That's a very simple cream to make. You can do that very, very easily. You can just buy the coconut oil directly from the supermarket, and then you can just dissolve cannabis oil directly into it and then directly apply it. Now that's the simplest possible method, okay? And you may get some separation when you do it within the final cream, but it's a fairly good way to do it, to start. But my advice would be to find somebody who does all of those beautiful creams, okay? Because cannabis can be dissolved into, as I said before, into any oil, for any purpose. So we just started a line of dog food that's going to the US, and it's tailored to dog conditions. So if a dog has anxiety, it will be receiving a certain amount of certain terpenes and a certain amount of CBD, okay? And the dogs react quite clearly to it, and they'll settle down. So that's one new application for CBD. So in the future, there's going to be a lot of creams and a lot of shampoos and a lot of soaps, and there already are. So if you want to start making your own, for instance, for your own use, you want to hook up with someone like that. Okay? Alright. The best, I will give you one heads up. A lot of oils used to be made with solvents, like alcohol or butane gas, for instance. Water extraction is the best way to make a medicine, okay? Cold water will extract the trichomes from flowers very, very precisely, okay? They can be then separated out and filtered to their grades, and you can produce very, very high quality oils from them. It's a 100% natural process, and then you can decarb it and turn it into a liquid simply with heat. It's known as rosin or rosin, okay? So that's the simplest and most effective way, and the whole circle has just gone around, okay? For many years we moved into gas extraction, we had closed loop butane, we were doing, alcohol extractions, but now all of the big companies are turning to solventless extraction.
What about the presses? Are they good to do the hot press thing?
Yeah, no, it's very good. The rosin is the most pure, beautiful product available. And to be quite honest with you, made from the flower, if you can just get yourself a press, and all you got to do is just put a little bit of parchment paper over it and press it, that oil is just absolute 100% Fico. It's the best quality oil you can get. And it's the simplest organic methodology. And you've got to remember that, right? This whole thing that we do is an organic process. So if we do it like that, we just get a better product by nature. You get what I'm saying? If we start putting butane through it, running it around and around, separating it out, then we're moving away from nature. We're doing what the farmers do. So we're trying to... Alright, we've got more people in the tent now. We're talking about vertical farming today and technology. We've got a head grower from a local area, so if anyone's got any questions about anything to do with anything, but particularly vertical farming, you can just fire away, just shoot out a question, alright? I don't know, we've only got a few minutes left before the next speaker, so are there any questions? That was a good question about how to make creams. We had a great question before about IPM and how to deal with bugs and molds. Anyone got any other questions? Yeah.
Gummy bears. Tracing your gummy bears.
Yeah, welcome to the world of edibles.
Bruce, I'll let you answer that question, but this will be our last question. But if anyone wants to carry on talking to these very interesting men, he's got his grow tent just
over here. Stall just over here. If you got any questions about any equipment or anything at all, happy to chat. Happy to hook you up with a supply line for any equipment that you need. So, getting back to your question. So the best way to do it is to build a syrup, okay? So what you're doing is you're basically diluting what you're putting into the food into something else. So if you're making sweets or something, it needs to be put into a sweet syrup, right? If you're making something like spaghetti or something, olive oil is one of the best extractors there is, okay? Now, how much do you take? So, this is the eternal question, right? So I've got some beautiful gummies at the moment, but I take 3 and I'm nicely smashed. Some poor green fairy had 3 last night and was like on the floor, so like it's really hard, like they all have the same amount in them, but you react very differently to how I react. So how do you get the right amount? All you can do is start with a pure oil, okay? So you make a distillate or an isolate if you have to, or a really good rosin, really nice rosin. And you say, I've got 1 milliliter of that oil, and then I've got 100 mils of olive oil. And I know that 1 mil will get 10 of a stone, right? That's about the best way you can do it, because everyone reacts differently. It's like the whole driving situation we've got at the moment. I can have 40 cones and drive no problem. My little nephew has 1 cone and he's giggling on the ground. Do you get what I'm saying? So how much do you take? I don't know. The best advice is get a good maker, someone who knows what they're doing, not just a backyard maker, and start slow. You start with 1 gummy, and then next time you have 2 gummies, and then next time. My mum at 89 just started using gummies, okay? She started on 1/4 of one of my gummies and feels nothing. But by the time she got to 3/4, there we go. She's not stoned, but she's not in pain anymore, and she can move around, and it's like, fuck, I'm shopping again. Oh, I'm talking to my mates again, but she hasn't felt it yet. So is that the right level for her? Of course it is. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in America, they tell you how many mils base oil is in the product. And then it's up to you how much you eat. You can eat the whole packet if you want. You get what I'm saying, yeah? So to make it, get the best oil you can get, dilute it maybe 10 to 1, and then put that into a sauce or into gummies or into whatever, and start slow. Yeah, find your level. Everyone has their level, and everyone often has their strain. I'm a Girl Scout cookies boy. I like some serious. I smashed a paraglider, broke my back in 3 places, shattered my right leg, broke both my feet, both my shoulders, and bled out. And then they gave me opiates, and that nearly killed me. And then I found Girl Scout cookies, and now I skateboard every day at 80 kilometres an hour, and I'm 60 years old. So, you know what I mean? Girl Scout cookies is the one for me. Alright, that's about it.
Big round of applause, thank you very much. We're pleased to have this wonderful speaker today. It was so